Welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Slasher Movie Club Mondays. Coriander with me, of course, and special guest, friend of the channel, the cinephile himself. I'm using that terminology. Mr. Dan and Horror is hanging out with us.
Yeah.
Also, a special request from Dan for
Yep.
many months, and we're finally getting to it. We're talking about Alice, Sweet Alice. How are you guys doing tonight? There you go. You got the.
Nice.
Oh yeah,
He beat me to
yeah.
the punch. There you go. That's the one that I got too. That's awesome.
Oh, it is.
Dan.
Yeah, it's I like it. It's a good Arrow did a good job with it. Lots of extras on it. It's
Yes.
very solid. Yeah, it's
They
good.
really did. Absolutely. So tonight we're going to be talking about Alice, Sweet Alice. This is going to be a really interesting conversation. Let me just see who we have in the chat first, and then we'll get going and get into this movie here. We've got, oh yeah, Nathan. Nathan's in the chat saying, "Oh man, can't wait. This is an all-time favorite slasher. Wow,
Nice.
that is so cool." And I believe that's what he had told me yesterday in our chat. This was his favorite slasher of all time. It's very cool. The general is in the chat. What's up, Val? How you doing?
Hello.
Miss Carter's in the chat, and Heather's in the chat. How's it going? How's it going? Neil is in the chat. All right, Neon Black Reviews himself. Very cool. Eric's in the chat. I don't remember a lot about this one. Just a creepy mask, Brooke Shields, and a disgusting landlord. Here you go.
Pretty much.
You got it, brother. You got it. Let's see. Scott is in the chat. What's going on, Scott? Let's see who else we got. I thought I saw someone else. Also Neil saying, I have this one on Blu-ray from Arrow, but it's still in the watch pile. Oh, okay.
Hmm.
Wow.
You gotta dig
Neil.
it up a little farther there.
Right?
Because it's a good one. Yeah.
Right?
Oops.
Yeah.
Am I saying that too soon?
Yeah, you did, but that's okay because I think people get the sense of it. We're pretty excited here. What's up, Patricia? How you doing? Nice to have you. David's in the chat. This movie is very Hitchcockian. It is. It truly is, and that was one of the inspirations for this movie. Miss Carter saying, of course, hello to our host, Night Coriander, and Mr. Dan.
Hello.
Oh,
All right. Okay, guys. So let's get into this movie. I want to tackle this carefully because we don't want to do any major spoilers in the beginning, because we know there's some folks like Neil who has not seen this movie, and I think
This is my first time. So
This was your first time, yeah.
yeah.
And Dan, you've enjoyed this movie for quite a long time.
mhm. Yeah.
I just recently got introduced to this movie. I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Hard to remember, but it's definitely a movie that I didn't know about until recent years, and I just happened to see it listed on a list of greatest horror movies of all time, and I was like, wow, that I got to check it out. And I'm very glad I did. But let's start this thing off. Dan, I'll start with you since you're our guest. In the beginning of this film, what are some of the things that's coming to your mind about how it starts out, whether it be the way it's shot or the music or the characters as we're introduced to them?
Yeah. Well, first of all, great opening titles. Of course, the original title was Communion, so that's a little strange that you see the word communion on there.
Yes.
Yeah, they made him change that, so he wasn't too happy about that. As a matter of fact, the book tie-in, which they were big back then, it says Communion. He was like,
Yeah.
how can you change it now? But anyway, great titles. They have that figure holding the rosary or the crucifix, and then it's almost looks like
Yes.
stop motion, and it's like
Yes.
a knife. It's so 70s. It is so
Yeah.
70s. I love it. The
Yeah.
music is great. I forget the name of the composer. He did a great job.
Yeah, it's
And then it
creepy.
starts out, like, I love the camera angles. There's lots of upward shots, like you're looking from a child's viewpoint in the beginning, and it's kind of disorientating. And there's lots of like imagery that would be a little creepy to kids. Nothing tops the crucifix from Carrie with the eyes.
Yes.
Nothing tops that. But
Good
there's some
point.
images in here that, like, if you were a kid, it would be kind of creepy.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Catholic
Yes.
scenes in the church, there's some scenes in there that definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a Catholic church on the reservation here, and I went there as a kid, and yeah, it can be intimidating.
Yeah,
Right.
I didn't go to church as a child, but my next door neighbor was Catholic, and I went with them a few times. Like if I was sleeping over, and it was
Mhm.
like, yeah, it was a little intimidating, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very much so. Very much so. How about for you, Coriander? As we open up the film and start to kind of see different things, what were some things that kind of came to your mind? Because again, this movie, you know, it's old school. You know, it's 1976.
Yeah.
So it has that type of vibe. But what were you thinking when you first were watching it as a first time viewer?
Right. I like how it opened because in a way it kind of reminds me of, my life and my two girls, and it can get crazy and hectic, and
Hmm.
she's a single mom,
Yes.
raising these two kids. And
Hmm.
yeah, it's interesting. I don't know what the relationship with this priest is because he's a Catholic priest, and he seems like it was like, I don't know, it could have developed into more. It was kind of
Hmm.
weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't, I liked how it began. And you could see right off that the sisters, they didn't get along. The oldest one, yeah, especially was jealous of Karen. And yeah,
Yes.
you could just see, that there was a lot of tension between those two.
Yes, a lot of tension, a lot of tension. Of course, this is Brooke Shields, you know, her first movie and so
Yeah.
forth. So it's fun. It's funny too because they really utilized her in marketing, you know, after the
Right.
fact. And although her role is pivotal, and we won't get to that yet, but you know, we don't see a heck of a lot of Brooke Shields. Let's just put that away. But
Yeah.
my vibe on this thing, it's very creepy in the beginning, and I think what was cool about it, and I love these types of movies that builds the characters up, you know, from the ground up, and meeting this single mother, and she's raising these two daughters who are at odds with each other, as you know most siblings are, but you know she really had her hands full, and that's
Yeah.
putting it lightly. Linda Miller as you know, as the mother, but I mean, I think that for me, that was a good setup. And you see what Alice is like, and you see what her sister is like, and everything is kind of, you know, it is what it is. And of course, kids will be kids. This first scene, you know, where we see the mask. This scene is a creepy, creepy scene, and it kind of came out of nowhere. And it's funny because, you know, it something happens, but yet nothing happens. Dan, what did you think about this scene when you first saw it?
Yeah, yeah. Now this is creepy. You know, when I rewatched it, I was trying to remember, like, uh, wait a minute, like, were there two masks? Like, or was
Yes.
was was there, like, when I rewatched it like 10 years ago? I'm talking about,
Uh-huh.
and I was like, was there like a creepy old man in the beginning of this movie? Because there's like a double mask reveal, and it is very jarring. And I
It
know this
is.
that scene was on was it Bravo's 100 Scariest Moments? There you go. That is
Yes.
that is a creepy mask right there.
It
That is very
is.
creepy. And that's actually where a lot of people learned about this film, from
Mm-hmm.
that. And I think that was around 2006 or so.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, very Hitchcockian, and I know the
Mm-hmm.
directors talked about the movie Don't Look Now. He was by Nicholas Roy.
Yeah.
He was really inspired
Yes.
by that.
Those raincoats.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the raincoats.
Yes.
Hmm.
And you
And
can
yeah, it's just he set it up great. I mean, it was a great job setting it up.
absolutely, absolutely. And Coriander, before I get to you, I just want to catch up into the chat. Let's see. B Twitch saying hello, all glad to catch you live again. Surprised I've never seen this one. At first glance, it reminds me of Carrie. Yeah, there's definitely some connections there.
The
Um,
religion. Yeah. But
yeah.
that's pretty much it.
Heather saying I want to sign up for your channel night. I will. Oh, okay, great. All right. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. Uh, Val saying actually had to do some homework for this one. I hadn't seen it. Okay, and I thought there'd be a good number of folks that hadn't seen this. So I'm glad that you guys are you know, finding it out, you know, from this episode. Want to be a member, trying to do it by the latest tomorrow night. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that. Seriously, really, really do. Um, Miss Carter saying, I like this movie, what they're doing, but that acting, especially the aunt, way over the top. I was tempted to strangle her myself. Well, you know, and I think that was a sign of the times as well, you know, because I think when you look at different periods of movies, especially the older movies, there was just different styles of acting. Would you guys agree with that? Or
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
It was a different time,
it
Yeah.
just
was.
like you're all saying.
Yeah.
Right. Apparently, what was his name? Like I said, Eli Wallach used to say, like, I'm gonna go. I'm just gonna. It's up to you, the director, to reel me in, because
Yes.
I'm just gonna go off. So you need to like control me, like that's
Absolutely.
what you'd say. So, but there's a lot of hysterics in this movie, and
Yes.
there's a lot of like both the mom and the aunt are just a little bit on edge before anything happens.
That's right.
So I didn't mind it. I mean, I love some of those close up shots of both faces.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of tension too. I mean, there's tension all throughout this film between so many of the characters. And Coriander, I'll throw it to you right here. But um, also when we meet the landlord, Mr. Alfonso,
Okay.
who, yeah, tell me what you thought about about him and the scenes that we had with him.
I mean, this guy was something else. I mean, I
Right?
don't want to say too much and offend anybody,
Right,
but
right.
yeah,
Sleazy.
this guy was, an interesting character,
He was. He really
Yeah, I'm
was.
surprised he lasted as long as he did.
Well,
That's all I'm
yeah.
gonna say.
Okay, all right. But of course, there was a lot of poking the bear, so to speak, from Alice and kind of just instigating a lot of things. She was definitely a character that right off the bat you knew that she had a lot of stuff going on, and I think it was very smart of the movie to really show you that. But it's not just her. Again, the mother is a single mother, and there's tension between her and the kids. There's tension between the kids, and then of course we find out about her ex-husband, and there's tension there. And it's like all these things are just adding up, and I think that's what really made the movie special. But let's move to that first gunshot, so to speak, Dan. They're getting ready for communion, and the mother is trying, and again, I wanted to say this, especially for all the single mothers out there. I think she's trying to do a heck of a job as a mother, and she's trying to get everything set up, and she's trying to keep these kids from literally killing each other, with their arguing and so forth. And then of course you have Brooke Shields, Karen, who's getting ready for communion, and making sure she's got her dress and her veil and everything set up. And you've got Alice, who's totally jealous and spiteful and so forth, as we saw in that scene with the mask. Let's get to the church here, Dan. Tell me, because I'm going to tell you what, this scene, the way it played out, I'll let you take it, but this scene I thought was not only fantastic, but it really got me.
Yeah, it's jarring too. Well, it's kind of
Yes.
like in Assault on Precinct 13 when the ice cream truck pulls up and the silencer comes out, and you're like, no.
Right.
That's a kid. This is against the rules. You're
Right.
like, that can't happen, and then it happens. You're like, what?
Right.
Mm.
Yes.
You're like that.
Yes.
At first she's just grabbed from behind, and you're like, okay, what's going on here? But it gets pretty brutal, and
Yes.
and everybody else is in the next room.
Yes.
And it's
a
just
room full of people.
Yeah, there's like a room full of people, and you're like, oh my god, is this actually going to happen? And then it happens, and she's put into this like a trunk. I don't know, like a bench that opens
bench
up
with an open. Yep.
Yeah, and the rain-coated and masked person sees something that she wants, so she takes it off of her, and then she throws, on top of that, she throws a lit candle in there.
Yes.
And like I was like, when I was a kid, I used to like be afraid of like my room catching on fire and things. Like this movie really taps into like a lot of things like that.
Yes.
Just the smoke coming out slowly.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Really ratcheted up the tension.
It did. Yeah. It really did. And it kind of goes back to, and I'll get to you in a second, Coriander, but it kind of goes back to taking your time, so that something that is truly horrific can just wash over you. You know what I'm saying? Like it could have been done. I guess what I'm saying is, and there's no knock to modern movies, not all, but some, but there would have been some filmmakers that would have just, all of a sudden, shown, and you would have seen flames up into the sky, and you would have seen all this and burning flesh and this and that. But instead, your mind is seeing it right as it's happening, and your mind, it's unbelievable what your
Those
mind
are almost
is
the
seeing.
best kind of movies, also, because you have to use your imagination.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Coriander, what did you think of the scene and how it happened? Because again, it's just one of those horrific scenes.
Yeah, I mean, I remember my first communion. So yeah. Anyway, it was shocking. I honestly didn't think that little Brooke was gonna get, knocked off, like, what was it, 15, 20 minutes into the movie.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, it was shocking. And the whole lighting her on fire was like just the cherry on top of the cake. It was like, wow, they are taking it to that next level. And it was interesting because back then it's like, yeah, not too many children, like we all say. You see them getting taken out. So this was even more so than, assault on Precinct 13, because she gets burned to boot. So
there was like a nastiness to it,
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna throw a candle in there,
Yeah.
Yep.
And you at least had time with her long enough to know that, she was just a regular young lady, and she was, full of happiness and, smiles and so forth. So for me, I'm already invested in her as such an innocent child. I mean, children are innocent anyways, but at least for me, they made me feel that even more. So when this was going down, I was just like, oh my God. I mean, seriously. Hey, what's up, Extron? How you doing? All right. But so after that happens, like, everybody's freaking out too. And that's the other thing too. The old nun is the one that finds
screaming,
finds Brooke, and the scream that she had, and the smoke is coming out more, and everybody's, just getting all worked up and so forth. But while that's happening, or right after it happens, again, the way this was shot was very smart too, because after, we see the fire start to go, we go back inside, and then of course there's Alice, and she just has a look on her face like, what's up? You know what I mean? And Father Tom, who's the one that Catherine, the mother, is kind of has a friendship with or whatever, he comes, he tries to, take care of the situation, and then ultimately they've got to tell her, your daughter's dead. I mean, can you imagine that? At communion. I mean, again,
of all places, in a church.
Yeah, that's being burned alive too, man.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
That's like the biggest sin that could ever be had. Murder in a church. Come on.
Good point. And while that's happening, you see all the, the religious, artifacts all around. It's almost like that, you're being watched by God. And I mean, this movie was really smart, the way it was shot. It really, really was. Of course, we come to the funeral scene, and then this is where, for me, it kind of got interesting in another way, Dan, and I'll let you take it from here. But then we get introduced, and we didn't know this at the time anyways, but then we get introduced to the ex-husband, Dom, played by Niles McMaster. First of all, let me just say, I don't know what it is, and I don't know what you guys think, but I really liked his character. And I also liked the relationship that these two had, because even though, he got remarried, they were still
supporting each other
in
a healthy way.
Yes. And you could tell that there was still love there, and we'll get further on with the story there, but they weren't assholes to each other or anything. Tell me what you thought about his character, Dan, and then obviously what he had to start doing because his daughter got murdered.
Yeah. Well, he in comes into all the, you got the hysterical, the mom is, obviously she's has a lot to deal with, and then her daughter dies, and then she's got her sister screaming at her, and then all of a sudden this kind of strong presence comes in, and you're thinking, okay, good, somebody's going to like anchor everything down now, and
right.
Obviously they're not going to be jerks to each other when their daughter just died, but you kind of get the sense, like almost like, well, why did they get divorced in the first place? Like,
Yes.
you know what I mean? They had to get along pretty well here. And obviously that was a little while ago because he's already gotten remarried. So
Yes.
yeah, no, it's like, okay, maybe this guy's going to help us, the viewer, figure some stuff out now, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got that vibe too. He definitely,
Mm.
it was kind of like, okay, I want to follow this guy because it makes sense story-wise, like you're saying, Dan, but also because I like him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I like him, and it's almost like I started to like the mother even more because, again, they were cool with each other and supportive in this tragedy. What about you, Coriander? What did you think of his character and, of course, his whole motivation to try to find out who murdered his daughter?
I mean, that's what a father should do. You know, I
Correct.
wouldn't expect anything less if not,
Yes.
then the dude was an asshole to begin with. So,
Yes.
yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, he was a great character. And
He was.
yeah, it's yeah, too bad with what goes down with him, but
Yeah, well,
I mean,
okay.
that's all I'm saying.
Okay, well, you're pretty much already saying it.
Hey, you
So
got stop. We were gonna get there anyway.
we
It's not
are,
like
but
we're
not
that
just yet.
far.
So and then we have this we have this other scene with good old Mr. Alfonso, where you got Alice bringing down leftover goodies from the service and stuff like that, and you just man, you just get a sense between them that there's so much animosity. Of course, a
Yeah.
lot of that is from her, but he also pokes the bear too because he was literally
Yeah, he
talking
does.
about when people die, they talk about it, then it's over, you're put in the ground and that's it. And then he literally said she was the wrong one to go
Yeah.
in the box. And I'm like,
Mhm.
what is going on, man? Like he is the doctor of sleaze. I mean,
Mhm.
He
look
is,
at
and
him.
he needs to like wash his clothes, man. He's like
Right.
Wait a minute.
nasty, man.
I mean, seriously.
But
But go ahead, Dan.
yeah, no, but Coriander, I mean, I remember everything you guys ever said. I know you got Kurt Russell in tight jeans, and you got like Sonny Landon
Oh God,
and his
no.
sweaty, his muscular chest, and now you got Mr. Alphonse. I mean, it's
Yeah.
There you go.
No,
There you go.
no,
no, I know.
no. I'm
Absolutely. It's a different
sorry.
thing.
I'm sorry.
And Neil,
Completely.
and we got Neil saying,
Oh
I'm getting a
man.
Giallo vibe from the looks of the killer there. Absolutely. There's a lot of inspiration. This is about as much of an American Giallo as you're going to get, I suppose. Do you agree with that, Dan?
Yeah, it's funny that like Paterson, New Jersey,
Yes.
kind of almost substitutes for Europe. But a lot of people that saw this were like, is this director like European? Because he uses the
Yes.
waterways and it's very overcast and it really has that kind of feel to it. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But all of this has kind of been happening and it's happening pretty quick. Like I said, this is still in the first third of the movie easily. But you also have another place of tension, and that is from the sister. And
Yeah.
to me, Annie, Aunt Annie, first of all, a really interesting character, and one of those characters that every time she was on screen, there was something happening, even if it was obviously just verbal,
Drama.
but
Yeah.
drama. Exactly. And she and Alice do not get along at
Mm-mm.
all. I mean, and that's putting it lightly. I mean, some of the looks that she gives to her niece is like
Yeah.
death gazes. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And this is stuff that you see in real world, especially whether it's parents or other family members that don't get along with young kids or kids that are, at the time, I think Alice was 12, although, and this was actually an interesting thing. Paula Shepherd, who played Alice, she was actually 18 and turned 19
Really?
during the
I was gonna
filming
say,
of the
yeah,
movie.
I read 19. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
she turned 19
crazy.
during the
Yeah.
filming. Yeah, so it's pretty crazy. But Dan, what did you think of Aunt Annie? I mean, because she definitely added a different element to this story.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I like about this movie is you could tell so much about the backstory, like just the way Alice would look at Karen. You could tell about that relationship when
Yes.
Annie was yelling at her husband for like 2
Yes.
minutes straight, and then he goes, "Beg your pardon." You could tell that happened all the time. Like
Yes.
she just like henpecked this guy, and he was like half tuning her out.
Yes. Yes.
Anybody would half tune her out. I mean, you would,
Oh yeah.
yeah, just brutal. But yeah,
Yeah.
she was intense. She like,
She
and
was.
she's there like to help mom, but she, after like a day, she's putting pressure on mom.
Yes.
And you know what I mean? I think Alice dropped something, and
Yes.
The veil.
and it's like, just let's pull back here,
Yes.
Yeah.
She just
Yes.
can't help it. I guess she's like the big sister, so.
Yeah, absolutely. But let's move on a little bit too. And actually, one real quick in the comments too. I think it was HT is saying, is this considered
Yes.
a slasher? Absolutely, it really is. And
Now, was this in your book though? I'm just wondering.
I believe it is. Yeah,
Okay.
we went out of order.
Okay.
And this was actually, it's funny because when you first mentioned this to me, this was actually one of those movies that I had in my head, that I was like, yeah, this is something I want to talk about at some point. And of course, as you know, probably as well as anyone, Dan, we got so many things that we try to do. I mean, our list of what we're going to talk about is so long, it's not even funny. And, we kind of pick and pack. And of course, that doesn't count anything that might be new or any type of, new thing that we want to do and so forth. So, but I'm glad we got a chance to do this, because it, again, for Coriander's first watch. And again, this has become a movie that I've really enjoyed just in the last several years, because I just recently found it. So very cool stuff. But we got Aunt Annie, we got all these situations going on, and of course we get our next situation, which I thought was really well done, where Annie is leaving the apartment, and of course, who would be in the hallway just kind of hanging out? We see the figure in the raincoat with the mask, and by the way, it's just a creepy look, and as the aunt is coming down the stairs, something's happening. First of all, this scene was shot so well, and it really caught me off guard. Coriander, what did you think of this scene? Did it catch you off guard? And what did you think of the camera angles and things like that?
Yeah, this was a great scene. And this is actually one of the scenes that the director says is like his favorite out of the movie. So yeah, it's like the pictures you're showing, it's crazy, the angles. Like, look how cool that is, and yeah, it was brutal seeing the knife go into her knee, and she's screaming, and then she like stabs her foot or something. And yeah, it was well done. It was shot really well.
Yeah. How about you, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, it was great. I mean, this guy uses the stairwells like nobody else. Great angles. And the thing is, like, this is like a proto slasher. Nobody's getting like their head blown off like a Maniac or shot with a spear gun. The director actually wanted you to be able to relate to this kind of pain, so he rationalized that everybody stubs their toe. Everybody has like tooth pain at some point, so that's why he focuses on like getting stabbed in the foot.
Yes.
And apparently when he showed this to some of his relatives, some of them were like, "I'm out." They were not happy about that. But yeah, getting stabbed in the foot and the leg, and then she's trying to walk, and then she goes out into the rain.
Yes.
I love how that sidewalk was soaked with blood. Yeah, that looked really good.
Yes.
Very realistic.
It was, man. And she sold it. I mean, and again, it was the acting of the time, could be looked at as overacting. But at the same time, we do know people can be hysterical from something like this. I mean, this is not
totally.
We as horror fans, we get desensitized to these types of things because we've seen it a million times. But imagine if you're sitting there trying to help a family member, and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna head home. I'll be back, later on or tomorrow. And you're walking down the stairs and you get stabbed like that. You didn't expect it, and I mean, a lot of people would be freaking the hell out, and she definitely did. But it was a great scene. Everything about the scene was fantastic. The way it was shot, like you said, Coriander, the rain, and the blood, and so forth. And here's the other thing I want to throw out there, and then I'll pass it on to you, Dan. The other thing that I really, really liked, right as this attack happened, and obviously Catherine is trying to console Annie. Father Tom and Dominic, they pull up in a car, and here's another great thing. They're cool with each other. like they're friendly with each other. I mean, here you have an ex-husband, and again, we don't really know, but we can assume that Father Tom is at least a close friend of Catherine and the kids, and they're not only on speaking terms, but they're like, I don't want to say buddies, but you get what I'm saying, Dan. And I
Yeah,
thought that
yeah,
that
yeah,
was
yeah.
that was another cool and refreshing thing to see in an old movie, but they
Mhm.
pull up, and Dom is like, okay, let me look for who did it, and so forth and so forth. And another great scene too with I think I was telling Coriander, I love the camera angles, great shots and technique and everything. What did you think of this scene? And of course, we know who he finds in the basement. What do you think of that, Dan?
I'm sorry.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
no, it was great. It was great. I love all the little like the like sort of the nooks and the crannies that Alice gets herself into. All these, I mean, because back in the day, you were pretty, you were told to go outside and play. And if you're in a
Yes.
city, if you're, I had woods behind my house, but she has these little these little basement rooms that she's got her collection of knickknacks down there and
Yes.
her creepy three-faced doll.
Yes.
So I mean, that was a great scene, and Dad is at that point he's ready to find some trouble. So
Yes.
it's a great scene because he's obviously relieved.
Yeah, I mean, he was ready to rock, and
Mhm.
and I did appreciate that because you got to have a weapon, man. I
Yeah.
mean, obviously, your ex-sister-in-law just got attacked and so forth. But this is where things kind of, to me, take an even bigger turn, Coriander, because um, obviously Annie thought it was Alice that attacked because the raincoat is on and so forth and so forth. So this creates a
Mhm.
bigger rift and tension between the sisters because of course
Yeah.
Catherine's like, no, it wasn't Alice. Alice wouldn't do it, and this and that.
Mhm.
And then they of course have the psych tests and talking to the doctor and all that type of stuff. What do you think of the story as we get to this point? Because now basically Alice is front and center in this as far as being implicated as the attacker and
Yeah.
also the murderer too of her sister.
Yeah, it's a crazy scene because she's like in there and she has to take like this lie detector test, and
Yes.
he's
Yes.
asking, well, who did you see, stab your aunt? And she said it was Karen. And
Yes.
yeah, and it was so crazy when, the guy was like asking, or I don't know if it was the lady, he was telling the results, and he
Hmm.
was like, yeah, she lied at one point, but when I asked her who she saw who the killer was, she told the truth. So
Yes.
then you
Yes.
were like, what? Because that kind of threw you off.
Yes, it did because he kept saying he asked stuff like, have you ever been mean to someone, or have you ever done
Mm,
something wrong to a loved one or whatever? And she eventually
hmm
said yes. And then did you attack your aunt? And she would say no. And then do you know who did it? And she said okay. Well, at first she said no, and then she said it was Karen. And so when the guy who was running the test, when he was talking to the cop, the detective who was investigating, he says, so what were the results? And the guy says, I don't know. She's bonkers, and she, like you said, Coriander, she lied about this, but she told the truth about the fact that she saw Karen do it. So
mm,
it's just all this type of stuff. And she obviously has been implicated, and the parents, again, this is the type of story where you're putting yourself in their shoes. And I just thought it was just some fantastic stuff to have in the forefront of the horror and the
yeah.
murders and so forth. But Dan, well, actually, Dan, did you have anything about those scenes that you wanted to add or that you thought were interesting?
Yeah. Well, you do learn that Alice, whether she did it or not, she's a disturbed child. You
She
know,
Mm,
is.
you're starting to really realize that like those looks that she's giving, like it's not like, oh, I'm just jealous, today and tomorrow we're going to be
Yes.
best friends. She's got some resentments. She's a disturbed child, and that's
Yes.
basically what you take away from that.
yeah. I
Yes.
mean, look what she did to that kitten. I mean, come
Yeah,
on.
right.
Yes. Oh my God, you're right. I almost forgot about that. I think I have that image. Not that I really
You
Yeah,
need
would
you
to
if
did.
you could show the
show
image.
him.
Yeah.
That is crazy with the cat. Yeah, when she wanted to get out of
Hmm.
the apartment because Captain Happy there was kind of getting too close for comfort, way too close for
Yeah.
comfort.
And I
And
think, was it like Britain or someone? They don't like
Yeah,
approve of like any of these animal abuse scenes. So they
that's
had to
right.
like, yeah, I don't know if it was banned the movie or if they had to
Yeah,
cut that scene out
they
or
had to cut it.
something.
it was on the
Cut.
video nasties.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. But anyways, but this is all just this is just another setup for to me what was this was an emotional part of the movie here, man, because again, you've got Dom who's trying to investigate this. You've got the
Yeah.
detective that's trying to investigate it. We see images, of poor Karen and stuff like that. And it's just some crazy stuff. So, but the other thing is that Annie has a child, Angela, and she also wears the raincoat, right?
Hmm.
So of course Dom is thinking, well, they're trying to blame all this on my daughter, as far as the murder at the church, but the other person that wasn't accounted for either was Angela, the
Hmm.
cousin.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he's trying to figure out what's going on. He gets a list from Father Tom of everyone who
Has a
ordered
coat.
that raincoat, right?
Yeah.
So it really is an interesting mystery. But then you have that scene where Dom gets a call, and it's from Angela, and saying, you got to meet me, and this and that and blah blah blah, and it's basically like an abandoned building or something, before the building, he sees her across the way, like on a bridge, and of course he's like, Angela, Angela, and she runs away, and he's following her. Now, Dan, and I love this scene, so I'll throw it to you, Dan. What did you think of this scene? Take me through this scene, because I thought it was, whew.
Yeah, this you start to get filled with like a sense of foreboding here, because here's the
Yes,
Hmm.
strong hero guy, and
yes,
he's letting this little figure kind of manipulate him,
yes,
and at the time
absolutely.
you're like, well, who is it? Is it the cousin? I don't know who it is, but totally he's being manipulated, and it's like, oh no, this is going to be a setup. As
Yes.
he starts chasing her, and then this is the part that's probably the most like Don't Look Now, the Donald Sutherland movie with Nicholas
I
Roeg.
agree.
You know,
I agree.
and it's just a really good setup. And of course, he follows her into the warehouse, and you know, things happen. Yeah, that happens.
Yeah. Yeah, man. First, as he's, and again, these, like you said right in the beginning of this episode, Dan, these upward angle
Mhm.
shots, because he's going up these stairs, and there's a lot of damn stairs in this movie,
Yeah.
but Dom's going up the stairs, and the way that the attack happens, you don't see it coming, and it's much more than your average jump scare, because the attacker comes out just like you see here and attacks him right into his shoulder, so he's injured, right? And I'm thinking, all right, dude, get the hell out of there. And so, Coriander, I'll let you take it from here, because again, this not only was a well shot scene, but there was a lot that was happening, and we don't want to go all the way with the spoiler, because I want to
Ah,
give a warning. I want to give a warning before
okay.
the spoiler, but at least take me up to right before the spoiler.
All right. Well, yeah, we all knew, right, as he was going up the stairs that she was going to eventually come out and get him.
Yeah.
And yeah, she stabs him in like the shoulder and he falls. And when he went down, I thought he was like going to pass out or something just because
Yes.
how he was, reacting to it. But
Yeah.
no, she ended up, what did she do? Like, I'm trying to think, what the hell did she do after
As
that?
as he went up the stairs, it's basically this scene here where it's nice and dark, and again, I love
Yeah.
I love these shots, man. And she's hiding behind this column, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying,
Did she
and
like
this
hit him with her
post
shoe or something?
with these rocks, these, like,
Oh,
maybe
yeah, the
maybe
bricks.
bricks or whatever.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
and he's coming up to her basically saying, because he thinks he's saying, you don't have to be scared, thinking that she's scared, and he's like, Angela, you don't have
Right.
to be scared, and so on and so forth. And she turns around from the column and strikes him multiple
Yeah.
times
Yeah, she
with the
does.
bricks. So of
Yeah.
course he goes down to the ground, and then
Yeah.
she goes on top of
She has
him,
her
and
way, right?
yeah, man.
Well, not in
Now,
that way, but you
Now,
know what I mean.
right, right. So then he's basically tied up and so forth. Now, before we go any further,
Yeah.
let me stop for a second. I want to catch up to the chat, and then of course we want to give our warning. Okay.
Mhm.
Jamie's in the chat too, saying this is one of the first horror movies my mom ever showed me.
Mm,
JB, You all right? Wow,
Yeah, and she still turned out all right. I can't,
she did. Wow,
wow, that must have been something.
that is crazy. Oh my gosh. HT saying this scene was so tense. It was. She hit him with a brick. She sure did.
Yeah, she did.
Um, so this is what I want to say, guys, because I know there are a lot of people in this chat, and there's probably a lot of people that hopefully will watch this that have not seen this movie. What I want to do right now is let you know we are going into um, the spoiler, the big spoiler. Personally speaking, and I want you guys' opinion on this too. Personally speaking, I think you should go into this movie without knowing this. I don't think you should know this, and I'm big on that for any movie, but especially with this one, because at this point we're 70% into the movie, okay? And it was interesting how things went after this. What do you guys think, Dan? What do you think? Do you think that people that have not seen this movie should not know the spoiler?
Yeah, oh, yeah, definitely, definitely.
Okay,
Yeah, you
okay,
don't want to know this.
okay,
I
okay.
don't think.
How about you, Coriander? What do you think?
I mean, to some people, they don't give a shit.
I
So
know,
I guess
I
it's
know.
up to, the person. But for me, I went in completely blind. So
Right, right,
it's it's
right.
it's more enjoyable that way. So
That's
yeah.
what I'm getting at. For you, if
Yeah.
you knew the spoiler beforehand, do you think that it would have lessened your enjoyment of the movie a little bit?
Well, not the enjoyment, but the shock factor of it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm getting.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're all in agreement. Okay, so I just want to say for you guys, and it looks like we got about 16 people or so in the chat. If you have not seen this movie, we highly recommend you stop right now and leave the live chat. Watch this movie. It is streaming. Watch this movie. It's a very good movie. It is streaming. I think it's on Pluto. I've watched it on Amazon.
I think it's on Tubi
Um,
also.
I think it's
Yeah.
on Tubi. It's definitely
Yeah.
available physically, but we really highly recommend you watch this movie. And there's something else I want to mention about it too. Hopefully, I'll remember after we talk about this spoiler. But this is the time to leave the chat. And after you watch the movie, please come back because this is really interesting stuff. So this is the warning for the spoiler. So I'm going to give you guys 5 seconds. This is your warning, and then we're going to talk about the spoiler. Okay. All right. So we're about to hit this. All right. So Dom is hit with bricks. He's knocked down to the ground. My thought, and I'm about to give it to you, Dan. My thought was he was just going to be killed right there with these bricks, right? But he's not. He's not. Okay. He's hurt, but he's still conscious. He's still aware. He's got his eyes open. The killer comes pretty much right over top of him, right? And the craziest thing happens. The killer pulls the mask off. And I would be honest, when I first saw this, I was like, what? Huh?
Yeah.
Okay. So again, I hope anyone in the chat that does not want to have a spoiler is gone. We've given you like a minute. Okay. All right, here we go. So Dan, take me from this point on as far as what you think and how it happened and so forth.
Yeah. The first time I saw it, I was like, what? Due to the size of the person, it was like, oh yeah. And it's like, look, you had in the thumbnail the word jealous. There's a lot of jealousy in here. So
Yes.
I mean, we didn't even like, even in the rectory, they've got their own dynamic going on. She got the Father Tom, and then you got the old
Monsignor.
priest upstairs who needs to be taken care of. And then you have Mrs. Tredoni, who's like the housemaid and who has to do all these like unforgivable tasks. And in the beginning, Alice walks in wearing the mask and scares her while she's scrubbing the floor.
Yes.
And she kind of like, you kid, get out of here. And you could just see that she has like this kind of like resentment, and she seems like just weary of the world.
Yes.
And then, when she gets on top of him and she takes off the mask, and it's like this 60-ish year old woman, and
Yeah.
you're just like, what?
Yes.
And, but it, like I said, this is not a movie with like a hulking killer. This is before all of those movies. So you get this little woman, and she's struggling to push him, to roll him while he's all tied up. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And then when after the reveal,
Mhm.
He's like, what, what are you doing? And then
Yes.
kind of like with the candle, she adds like a layer of nastiness where she takes the cross, which she took from Karen.
Yep.
She puts it in his mouth. And this is what I was talking about before, where we've all had something wrong with our teeth. So it's almost worse than like an exploding head, right? Because
Yes.
and then the bricks are gone, so she takes her shoe off and she's like pummeling him in the face with the
Yes.
cross in his mouth, and it's pretty brutal. It's brutal.
It is, man. It is.
Yeah.
What about you, Coriander? What did you think of it? Because it was multiple things at once. The shock of who it was, and also I was so invested in Dom at this point. You know what I'm saying? What did you think?
It was a bummer, yeah, because he was a good character, and to see him go like this, this was a rough one. I mean, after she smashes him in the face with her shoe, they're like in this building that's like, I don't know if it's being demolished or what, but I don't know how many stories they're up, but she rolls him out and he falls, and it's too bad, man.
Yeah, I mean, he's
he was a good
screaming
character.
and he's pleading for his life, and it's just like, oh my God. And I think that's the other thing too, like you were saying, Dan, she's rolling him to the edge of this opening or window or whatever, and it's like, oh no, slowly. Yes, which worked, because of her size and also the tension of the moment. Again, this film is, and I'm so serious, it's operating on a lot of levels. You know what I'm saying, as far as the story and how it works for you as a viewer. Real quick, I just want to jump into the chat. Jamie's saying, I think Alice Sweet Alice might even be free on YouTube. It probably is. That's a good point. You're awesome too. Thank you. And Neil was saying, if you enjoy these live streams, then please consider becoming a channel member or Patreon member. Then you can join us for live movie watch-alongs. It's a lot of fun, and the movies are great. Thanks so much, Neil. You're all right, man. And of course, and you as well, Dan. You guys just so supportive of this channel and of this community. I mean, and it's really, really cool. It's just really cool, and there's really no way to thank you guys enough for that. Seriously, I mean, it really means a lot to us. And I saw a comment from Miss Carter too as we head into the end of this. Miss saying, "I say spoil away. If I don't want to know, I won't watch. It's not that complicated. And yes, it's on Tubi." Okay, all right. But I still wanted to warn, because there's some people out there like they kind of want to know, but they don't want to know. And I just wanted to let people know that this, to me, was the type of reveal that you probably don't want to know ahead of time, if you're really interested in watching this movie. What's up? Chris is in the house. What's going on? Nice to see you. HT saying, how come she stabbed the aunt on the stairs? Ooh, that's a good question. You want to tackle that, Dan? I have a theory.
Because she was being a Karen.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then later she goes back, of course, to the apartment. So who was the primary target? I was thinking about that today. I think it might have actually been the mom, actually,
Catherine.
Yeah, because I think part of Miss Tredoni's deal was, she dedicates her life to the church. It's funny, and there might even be some sexual repression there. In a movie about the Catholic Church, you would expect that to be a priest that would have that problem, but it's not. It's a female.
Right.
She's middle-aged now. Maybe she's got a kind of a crush on the father.
Yeah.
She thought she was going to get that cross as a gift for some reason. I don't know if that's like a thing in the Catholic Church. Is that a gift or not? I don't know.
I think that's a big part of it too. Yep.
Yeah, but she just feels like slighted, underappreciated, and I think she was going after the mom, but there was the aunt showed up, and it was on. So
yeah, I mean, I think it was definitely like waging a war against the mom, because she even said, and we're jumping ahead, but because the mother had the children out of wedlock and stuff like that, obviously that's a crime against the church. Like you said, Dan, the cross, Father Tom, it was his mother's cross, and he was giving it to Karen.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that was a no-no right there too. And I think she saw Alice as a vehicle to use to enact this revenge. You know what I'm saying? Using the raincoat and the mask to conceal her identity. You take out Karen, and then eventually, you're going to take out whoever else you need to get to the mother.
She was totally threatened by this family.
Yeah, absolutely. And Alice, of course, is such a bad kid. She's the scapegoat. I mean, Coriander, we were just talking about this the other night on Nightbreed with Decker using Boone as a scapegoat because he's so out there that people are going to think, yeah, he's the bad guy. And Decker's able to do whatever he wants to do. So same thing in this movie, kinda. You have Mr. Doney, who's like, everyone's going to suspect Alice, right? So I'm just going to go and exact my revenge and take these guys out one by one, and people are going to blame it on this bad kid. You know what I'm saying? So
she wants them all for herself.
That's right. That's right. And you saw this scene after she killed Dom. She goes to confession. She wasn't planning on giving a confession. She was going there to change her outfit. But then Father Tom was there, and she basically is, forgive me and blah 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 blah. And like you were alluding to, Dan, she goes back, to finish the job, so to speak. But while that's happening, again, this is funny because multiple things are happening at once. You got Alice, who's playing a prank on Mr. Alfonso with the roaches. She puts a jar of roaches on his stomach, just to freak him out. She likes, poking fun at him, cursing at him, all that type of stuff. So he starts screaming, and Mr. Doney, who's dressed up in the outfit, of course, hears that. He comes out into the hallway, and then bam, he gets it. He finally gets it, Coriander. You were like, I didn't think he'd last this long. He definitely got it at that point. So it's all these things happening, but this is where, and I think this was kind of cool too, like what you were saying, Dan, about the realism of this. She doesn't have the mask on because he ripped it, and she's not masked up. And the detective was outside of the apartment complex. He breaks in, and he gets a glimpse, right? And that's pretty much was her downfall, because after this, she heads back to the church. And of course, everybody's, they're all game planning this outside. You got like friggin' a SWAT team outside of this church. Now that in and of itself, is I mean, just that image, all these cops there. But Dan, we're talking about the last 5 minutes or whatever the movie. Again, still big things are happening. Take me through some of those things and what you thought.
Yeah, no, that was great. Well, the detectives, we haven't mentioned the detectives much, but periodically we're seeing their progress trying to figure out what's going on. So now they're with Father Tom, and they're trying to figure out how to close in on Mrs. Trelawney. Yes. And I got to say, Father Tom's judgment on many levels throughout this movie has been way off.
Right? Yeah.
He's like, oh, me and the other priest, I forget his name, but there's another priest in there. He doesn't say a word in the movie. Yeah. He's like, oh, we'll handle it when it's time. When it's time. And
she was even like, she won't hurt me.
Yeah. Oh, well, first of all, she comes in with a paper bag. She's got the raincoat on still.
Yes.
She sits down in the pew. When it's time to come up for communion, she pretty much busts right through some people to kneel down right in front of him.
Right, and right beside beside Alice too.
Beside Alice, and Alice gives her a look like, okay, whatever.
Yes.
And then the father thinks he's just going to go over and whisper to her that she has to get up.
Yes.
And go with the Monsignor.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just like not having that. And then that's when something comes out of the bag.
Yes. I mean, and Coriander, before I get to you, first of all, and the scene was shocking, but I'll get to you about that, Coriander. I just want to jump to the chat real quick too, because this this is really, I tell you. Miss Carter saying, I hate the ending. I think it's a cop-out pinning the murders on the old lady. Really? Oh, that's too bad. What do you think of that, Dan?
No,
I thought it was clever.
I thought it was clever. I like the twist. I like the twist with Miss Trelawney. I thought it was cool. I mean, I like that we'll get to the very, very end, but I like the way that in some ways Alice and Mrs. Trelawney are kind of like similar in some ways.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
they're both like got a lot of jealousy deep down inside of them. So
Absolutely. And Jamie had put a link to the movie too. Chris also saying found Night Watch through Sledgehammer Horror and instantly had to subscribe. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. We really do. And welcome to the community here. There's a lot of great people here. Much appreciated. Jamie saying the cross, rosary beads, is a common gift in the Catholic religion for first communion. Yes, yes. Let's see. Heather saying she's got to go. Everyone, see you later. Love the family. Bye, Night. Bye, Dan. Bye, Coriander. Catch you later. Thanks for hanging out with us. We really appreciate it. And Coriander. So let's get to this ending. Again, she wants everything to be all right. She just ran from killing Mr. Alfonso. So look, you can kind of tell what her mentality is. And she also had a scene before she killed Alfonso, where she was basically having that Norman Bates type of talk to herself. So you knew that she was really edged out. But what did you think about this final scene for you?
It was completely unexpected.
It was.
They're going down the line, giving people the wine and the bread, and he's even saying to the other guy, hurry up, because he could see her like eyeing Alice.
Yes. Thank you for reminding me about that. Yes.
Yeah. And then the next thing they're there and he's like, come with me. And she reaches in her bag and the next thing you know, she okay.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. She stabbed him and I couldn't believe it because she loved him. She, wanted to be with him, take care of him.
Yes.
So you really thought that she wasn't going to harm this guy. She wouldn't do that. But the fact that she did was, man, he falls down, he gets murdered in his church. His blood's flowing everywhere. It's like, wow, look at this scene, and this sacrilege, it was really good. It's a great scene.
And the other thing about it too, like you said, she absolutely adored him. She had a picture of him in her room.
Yes.
Like an 8x10 of him just smiling, and she totally
right above her bed.
Yes, and she totally adored this man. And when he says, you have to come with me, and the police are waiting outside, we want to do this quietly, and she's like, but Father, I wanted, communion, this and that. And he's like, I'm sorry, but I can't give it to you. And I want to give her a lot of credit, because in this scene, it would have been easy just to get down to business, so to speak. But she had those seconds of kind of looking down and then looking at him and kind of like looking around, and you know what I'm saying? So you as the viewer, you're wondering, okay, what's going to happen? When is this bomb going to go off, or is it going to go off? Because he was so confident as a character, and you were invested in him in this movie, just like with Dom. And then, then you can hear her kind of have this look on her face, and she kind of goes into the bag. But here's what I like about this scene, and I'll let you guys tell me what you think. She goes into the bag, and it's like a not a pause, but the camera goes to Alice, right? And she's standing there, and she kind of like looks to the side. And right as she starts to look to the side, the next thing you see on the screen in the frame, she stabs him right in the side of the neck. You got the music, whatever. The way it was shot was so shocking. It was shocking anyways, but the way it was filmed lifted that up to another level for me. Because even though I knew what was going to happen, when I just rewatched it, it still caught me. I was like, the way it happened. Did you feel the same way about that, Dan? The way it was filmed, it was,
It's it's right. It reminds me. It's much different kind of movie, but Casablanca at the end, when there's the thing where it's like the tension, it's like he's going to tell the Nazis who shot so and so, and it's like stop, look, eye contact before anyone speaks. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that. It's not just like a quick thing.
Absolutely.
And actually, what we forgot was when the father says that she can't have communion. Remember what she said?
Oh God.
She was like, but you gave it to that whore.
Yes. Yes, and she screamed it out loud.
Screamed it. Everybody's looking like,
Yes.
what?
Yes, and
Because
that's when
you get,
everyone in the church got attention. Yeah.
yeah, you get these poor congregants in the church. I mean, they've already been through a lot, and they have no
Yes.
idea what's about to go down.
Yes.
That's why I feel like
Yes.
the police and Father Tom, they kind of messed this whole thing up. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
They
Absolutely.
ended up traumatizing people.
Yeah, I mean, because at first the cop was like, "Hey, look, we can put some sharpshooters, you know, in there, and da 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 da," and to some degree it was a little believable because Father Tom said, "No, no,
Right.
not in my church." Like
Yeah.
there'd already been enough tragedy, so I kind of got where he was going, but still, that the city boy inside of me is like, "Look, dude, you can't take any chances. You know, this lady is like edged out. You know." So, anyways. Dre's in the chat too saying this is such a classic. It is, man. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. HT saying maybe she felt betrayed when he was turning her over to the cops. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I mean, she loved him, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Dre saying the look on her face when she stabbed him. Yeah, man. It's just crazy. Very crazy. Miss Carter saying, ask yourself, Knight, how would she even know about Mr. Alfonso? There's nothing to indicate he had anything to do with the church, so he wouldn't be taking the priest's time away, which was part of her gripe. Well, I think when she killed him, it was really because he was in the way, because she was upstairs, you know, knocking, and she was knocking hard on Catherine's door, you know, presumably to take out the mom. And then when he screamed from the roaches, from the, you know, the trick that Alice played on him, he jumps out, he runs out into the hallway, and he can see the raincoat. So he thinks it's Alice, and he's yelling, and she wants to escape. So she runs down the stairs, and he's right there, and he grabs her. That's why she kills him. Like, it wasn't her intent to like, hey, let me kill Mr. Alfonso. He was really just, I mean, is that how you look at it, guys? Because to me, he was just collateral damage. He was in the way of her escape.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just bad timing for as far as that prank.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Very bad timing. Very bad timing. So, you know, anyways, that's the end of the movie, guys, but it really lingers on with you after the ending. It, you know, it was still kind of washing over me. This movie is fantastic. I know we usually do this, but I think you guys know where we're going to go with this. We have only 3 answers here, Coriander. So let's go over this again. We can either recommend this movie, meaning that it's excellent. We can chance it, meaning that it's okay. Some people might like it, some people may not. And then, of course, skip it, meaning that it is literally like Don't Go in the Woods Alone or Blood Cult. Okay, Dan, what are you going to give Alice, Sweet Alice?
Well, I mean,
yes,
I got this.
Yes,
you know, I had seen it, you know, a few times, but to prepare, you know, actually going back a couple months, I ordered the DVD with all the special features. So yeah, no, I think it's actually, it's certainly see it, recommend it, certainly.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and I'm not a massive physical collection guy, but this one I felt like I wanted to have. So
yeah, absolutely. Coriander, how about you?
Well, to make it difficult, you know.
Yeah, as soon as you said, well, it's like, answer the question.
You gotta own this shit, honestly.
Yes.
No, okay. I recommend it.
Okay, me too. I'm gonna answer that real quick before you jump back into something. No, look, this movie is really good, guys, and especially if you are a slasher fan, a horror fan, and if you also are interested in old school horror, which to me, one thing I was starting to mention earlier, I like these types of movies because as I'm watching it, even though I had seen it before, I don't know, I just felt like I was transported into this world, and it's a different type of world than the world I live in. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that makes any sense whatsoever, but you know, when I watch a good horror movie or any good movie, but we're talking specifically about horror right now, it's such a great feeling, you know, because you're just like in this different world with these characters, and it really does have some good characters. Is that how you guys look at your viewing experience with, in not just this movie, but any movie that you enjoy?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, this movie, I mean, filmed in the 70s, takes place in the 60s. You know, they really nailed the whole feeling. You know, like this is like we said, this is before the onslaught of slashers, and he was clearly inspired by some directors and films, but he also just kind of pioneered his own techniques. There's a lot of backstory about how he went through several directors of photography, and the one that's on the credits he argued with constantly. You know, and his instincts were correct. You know,
Yeah.
I think. I mean, I think it really paid off. Yeah.
I think so too, and there he is right there, Alfred Soul. I mean, I think seriously, I think he did a hell of a job with this movie. It really is a fantastic, and I can understand why it was on that list of the greatest horror movies of all time on Bravo. It really does deserve to be there. How about you, Coriander? As far as just anything you want to add as we start to head on out.
For a first time viewing, and I've heard of the movie, but obviously I'd never checked it out. I was pleasantly surprised, and yeah, it's totally worth. And if anybody who hasn't seen this, it's totally worth watching.
Yeah,
Because it's aged well.
yes.
Even though it's like however old, it's it takes you, you know to it, like you say, it transports you to this place. And
Yes,
it's a real good movie.
I agree. Jamie saying, I think that's a fair assessment night. I think she's talked about when I was explaining how Alfonso got into the mix. Unfortunately for him, I tell you. Dre saying, so atmospheric. It really is. It truly is. So cool, gothic, religious, and great stuff. Miss Carter recommends it. Jamie recommends it. Dre recommends it. He says, no doubt about it. Yes. HT asking, did you think Alice killed her sister or the maid killed her sister? I definitely think it was Mr. Tredoni. Would you guys think?
That's what I think.
Yeah. And you got to remember too, she told the story to Catherine when Catherine went to the house looking for Father Tom, and she was telling a little bit of her backstory about how her daughter was killed on her first communion. So you get what I'm saying? So
that's a great. We didn't even touch on that scene. That is some great acting in that scene.
It was because it was tense because she's telling her story to Catherine and she's cutting up some fish with this huge ass knife, and I'm
points
thinking,
it at her.
Yeah, yes. And Catherine's been through a lot, but I gotta admit, I was like, Catherine, you got to keep your head on a swivel. This lady's a little off. You know what I mean? But that was a fantastic scene between those two actresses. And again, tension, characters and tension. And to me, this is what a horror movie can be. The best of them can be. Not a lot of blood and gore and guts and jump scares, but tension and then horrific scenarios that make you invested in what happens to these characters. The general is saying, please don't forget to leave a comment on this video. It really helps to get the video out for those to see. Absolutely. And thank you so much, Val. You rock. Val recommends it as well. And Neil, old school is the only school. I love that. That's great, man. Dre saying, I've seen it multiple times and it trances me in. Yes. HT saying, would you like to see an Sweet Alice sequel? No. No. As much as I loved these characters, I wouldn't want to see them do anything else because it's the way it ends is so sad. Because once Mr. Tredoni kills Father Tom, then it pans back from the front of the church and you see Alice kind of walking away with the bag the bloody knife. The bloody knife that just killed Father Tom, and she puts the knife in the bag, and then it's over. So what a great way to end this film. They did talk about wanting to do a remake of it, and I think that was something they were talking about a couple years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and it really hasn't gone off the ground. I think the pandemic had a lot to do with it. Obviously, there's been some remakes that are good, but I don't really need to see one, but Jamie saying this movie definitely helped to shape my future taste in films. Ooh, yeah. Dre saying I even kind of feel the jealousy. It's true. It's very true. You can feel that in the movie and from so many different characters, and Jamie agreeing with that. Yeah, the jealousy is palpable. Dre saying if they do a remake, they need the right director. Yes. I absolutely agree with that. And Jamie said, I'm okay if they don't remake this. Me too. I think, you know, there's some movies that just have a certain charm, you know, because of the time period they came
Yeah.
out in. This definitely is one of those types of movies. You know, it really, really is. But anyways, guys, that's about all we have for Alice, Sweet Alice. This was really fun talking about this because there's so much to it, and we hope you guys enjoyed this. And for you guys that haven't seen it in a while, or if you've never seen it, we highly recommend this. So did so many people in the live chat that do know of this movie. It's a good one. It really, really is good. Um, we also want to thank Dan for jumping on with us. This was something that
Yeah.
we've been trying to do for a long time and trying to get the schedules right and so forth. And you know, we're just so happy that you could join us.
Right.
And you know,
Yeah,
we
well,
hope
thank
that
you. Thanks for having
yeah,
me.
absolutely. And we hope that we can get you back in on with us too. You've been such a big supporter of us and so many other channels in this community. Yourself as a content creator, and it's just awesome to be able to not only have a friendship but also to be able to collab like this whenever it's possible. So thank you so much, and you're, like I said, you're such a huge supporter of this channel particularly, and we really appreciate it, man. We
Well,
really,
well,
really do.
thank you. No problem at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, absolutely. And for you guys, please, if you have not checked out Dan's channel, I've got the link in the description. Go check him out, subscribe to him, support him as he does for so many of us in this community. One thing about Dan that I always like is I like the way he talks about movies, you know, and I really always like just the way. And I've said this to you before, so you know,
Yeah.
not trying to like you know get all mushy, but I just like the way he talks about movies. You know, he has a really good sensibility about stuff. So you definitely enjoy his channel. So please, when we're done with this live stream, check out his channel. Please subscribe. The link is in the description. So, so next week, and thank you, Jamie. We appreciate that. Next week, we're going to do what we were going to do last week, which is Colobos. We had a schedule conflict, but you know, it all worked out pretty good anyways. So Colobos will be what we do for next Monday. As we said before, we don't know this movie. It's going to be a blind watch, but we love doing those types of things because sometimes you find some gems. So it'll be fun to check that out for next Monday. And I believe it is free. It's probably on Tubi or Pluto.
It's on Tubi. It's on Tubi.
It's on Tubi.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Neil saying, great stream. Glad to have Mr. Dan sit in. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thanks, Neil.
And Jamie saying, give the thumbs up a tickle. That's right. Please do. What's up, Sean? Sean's in the chat too. What's going on? Nice to see you. All right. So anyways, guys, this was a lot of fun. Check out Dan's channel. It's in the description. And we will catch you guys next Monday with Colobos. So if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you are the Night Watch. Peace out.
Upchurch.